Thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. After a long break, I am back with a fascinating, handsome guest who has so many wonderful things to share with us. After seeing one of his videos, I knew I had to get him on my show, and he was gracious enough to carve out the time to do this with us today. My guest today is Damian Bertrand. He is a TV host, a past life regression specialist. He can fill in all of the blanks and all of the titles for us, because if I try to share them with you, 40 minutes will be gone. Damian, welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, and very happy to be meeting all of your followers, your listeners, people that watch your show, and you do such great interviews. I was happy to be here.
Well, thank you very much. Now, Damian, when I first saw your interview, I was fascinated, and I found myself for 2 days just binge watching your shows, because what you do is very uncommon, but I believe very much in what I've seen. So I sat and watched a video with some friends where I am right now a couple of weeks ago, and I know they're all waiting to hear what we discussed tonight. So tell us how you started hypnotizing people and getting the information you do about their past lives, which you later bring them back and prove by pursuing the records or the archives where the information they share is stored. And almost all of the videos I've seen, if not all, prove to be accurate. So tell me how you got started doing this.
I was fascinated with the subconscious mind and its power at a very young age. I realized that whatever you really put your intention to, you could achieve. And whether that was really good, positive intention would give you really positive, good results, or whether that was not putting the right energy in the right places, which would also give you a result which you may perceive to be negative. And so I wanted to use as much positive-based energy to experience as much positive-based results as I could in my life. And that went from studies at school to sports to friendships, relationships, to everything. And so understanding that, the mind is really separated into 2 levels, the conscious and the subconscious mind. Most of us live in a conscious state at all times, meaning we don't really look into our subconscious too much. We just think, and thinking is conscious. That's what, the state we're in correctly and presently, which means that, we understand that it's Thursday afternoon and that we're talking on this show, and that everything, the sun is shining and the wind is blowing outside and the ocean's behind me. And this is all conscious thought. But subconsciously, which is about 90% of your being, is so powerful. It does everything from your autonomous nervous system, meaning your heartbeat, your breathing, your blood flow, to really creating your emotion, having your memories. All of your data is stored in your subconscious. In fact, when we're talking in this conscious state, everything comes from the subconscious and comes out in a conscious position. And so anyhow, being fascinated with this at a very young age, I wanted to explore and learn more about how to really build a strong subconscious mind. And that led me to hypnosis. So once I understood that meditation, hypnosis, these different levels of thought and of relaxation could actually bring you to perfect the subconscious mind, I went full bore and studied it. When I first became certified and later on took my master's program in hypnotherapy, I really focused at that time with clients on things like weight loss and quitting smoking and motivational empowerment. These were pretty much the 3 main pillars of my practice. We're talking in the early 2000s. And then as things evolved, I understood that you could use it for so many other beneficial applications. I was asked by a lot of my clients to do past life regression therapy with them. which I had studied a little bit in school, but didn't actually believe in myself. I just didn't think that that was a possibility. I'd never really put much thought to it. But after a few years of people asking me to do past life regression therapy with them, I decided to try it. And I thought I was just going to prove to myself and to my client that there was no truth behind it, and it was pretty fascinating.
Serious? You went into it with that attitude?
I thought underlyingly, I thought that that's what would happen. I really just thought anyone that was hypnotized for a past life regression would come back as someone of importance, somebody of stature, somebody of, maybe a Cleopatra, maybe an ex-president, maybe an ex-king, an ex-warrior, someone that we all had heard of, someone that would be very important and make themselves feel better. And so first regression I did, the lady I did the regression with, she actually came back as a very common person in the late 9th century in what we would call Europe today. It was, a small village with a very small, not very exciting life, I guess you'd say. It was just very, very average. And I thought, that's strange. Well, that's just probably a dream she was having. So then, I ended up doing some more regressions, and nobody ever came back as somebody famous. In fact, to this day, Jennylyn, I've never had one client come back as somebody of a magnitude that you would expect if somebody wanted to be or make themselves feel better. So early on, I started understanding that this was a very fascinating topic and I wanted to explore more.
So how many interviews would you say you've done to date? I mean, regressions.
How many? Wow. At least, I was going to say about 1,200 to 1,500.
Oh my God. And is it because I know some people like me, for example, I don't know if I could be hypnotized, but I've watched so many and it seems so simple. Do you ever have difficulty getting someone to relax enough to regress? Yeah,
it's part of the experience is the person that comes to my practice or any other qualified hypnotherapist's practice has to come in with an open mind in a relaxed state, and that will make the process much easier. The clients that I work with typically are very ready for the experience, are very willing for the experience, and I generally don't have any difficulty hypnotizing my clients. I would say though, if you went randomly on the street and tried to hypnotize 100 people, you'd probably only be able to hypnotize 5 to 10 of them because that's not where they're at. In fact, a really good example is to say it's like falling asleep at night. So when someone's ready to fall asleep, they're relaxed, they've had their day, they'll fall asleep. But if somebody comes in and they're stressed, or if somebody, in mid-afternoon, you ask them to take a nap, they might not be able to. And that's probably the easiest way to correlate the two examples.
Makes a lot of sense. What is the most difficult part of doing this that you have noticed over the years of doing it? What have you found to be the most challenging?
It's a really good question. I think personally, I've always been very careful with the clients if they fall into a space where they're reliving some trauma. I always want to make sure my clients feel safe and they're not re-experiencing it physically or emotionally again when they're reliving a past life trauma that happened to them. One of the ways I do that is really to take the person and have them see the experience of their past life in a third person point of view. So they can examine, they can watch without actually physically reliving it. Some of my clients, in fact, on my TV show, Past Lives, we had a client that was regressed to a place where she was drowning in a past life and she was physically having the experience. And so I had to actually take her away from that experience just to make sure that she was in a safe, comfortable state.
That is fascinating to me. Oh my goodness. Well, I have watched all of your interviews that I have seen with fascination, and I start, I try to understand the psychology and the science behind it, because one of the episodes that I saw, you interviewed a gentleman who was born and raised in Mexico. And during the session, he spoke French fluently.
Mhm.
And I watched when he came back afterwards, after you had done your research, to show him the evidence you got from the archives. And I remember watching him, looking at himself, going, I can't speak French in this lifetime. And so I wanted to ask you, because you're an expert, how are you able to take them back to a different lifetime and get them to give such accurate accounts of what happened in that lifetime? To most people, it sounds impossible. And I too would subscribe to the impossible theory if I hadn't seen you produce the facts as they stated it during the session that you have retrieved from archives. And this is why I'm asking you this. How are you able to do it? Because a lot of people cannot do it. I mean, I've had hypnotherapists try to hypnotize me, and they couldn't.
It's really a connection between the therapist and the client, first and foremost. I really believe that. And I definitely don't rush the process. And so I really want to bond with my client to make sure that we're on the same level when we actually start the therapy. I think that's been a key to this, to success. But I also think that to go back to your question a little bit, the beginning of your question is, how are we able to get people to a certain place and find some certain evidence? I think it's one of the key things to understand about past life regression therapy is that you never know as a therapist what you're going to uncover and where the person's going to land. And so some of my clients will say, well, I think I was, a farmer in the Midwest in the 1800s. Can you take me back to that life so I can see what happened with my family at that time, for example? And I'll always say, well, I actually can't. I can't take you back to a specific place. Whatever comes out is meant to come out. Regular hypnotherapy is really an A to B type process where someone comes to you and says, look, I want to cut back on my eating habits, or I'm eating certain foods that I don't want to have cravings for anymore. A hypnotherapist will come in and give direction to the subconscious to, not have the appetite for that food, or many different techniques, but it's an A to B, it's a direction. When it comes to past life regression therapy, it's really a B to B in the sense that you don't give direction to say you're going to end up in this life. You actually bring the person back, bring their subconscious to a place, bring them back through before birth into the empty space and see where they land. And whatever life that is, whatever moment that is, there's a reason it needs to come out, and it needs to be explored, and it needs to be either rectified, or it needs to be processed. There's many different reasons why that could happen. But as the interaction happens between the hypnotherapist and the client, you see that energy and you see that flow, and you make it go and go where it needs to go, and you work on the issues that need to be worked on. So Past Lives, the television show, everything that was on the show was actually very 100% genuine. And what we did was, whatever stories had good, good stories, good clients, good information, we had a team that went out and looked through the public records, through old newspapers, through cemetery records, parish records, church records, whatever we could find to identify the person that came out during that regression. And we found some amazing things. I mean, we found tombstones, we found newspaper articles, like I mentioned, about people that were written about that the person came back as. Obviously, public records where we found, their birth certificates, their death certificates. It's really fascinating. It's really fascinating for me as a therapist, but it's also really fascinating for the client. Come back, actually have some evidence to show that who they say they were was a person that actually existed, and see if they can connect the two and maybe understand who they are today by what may have happened in a past life.
That is what is so fascinating to me, is you're actually bringing a person who existed in another lifetime to a place in this lifetime where they can go back and identify with that person that they were previously. As a therapist, how has this changed you as a person, this whole experience?
No, that's a great question. I think life is an evolution, and we're always trying to hopefully better ourselves and do better things for people around us. And I think really coming from a place as a younger person, not believing in past lives and exploring this with my clients, and then not only believing, but practicing the art of that past life therapy, I think it has made me an even more caring and genuine person, because I realize that we are more than just a physical body in this one incarnation, in this lifetime, that we definitely have the potential to influence many different people throughout many different generations and many different lives as we come back. So I think it's made me grow as a person. It's made me open my horizons as a person, and I appreciate that.
That is great. And how have you seen this information helping your clients when you've uncovered the information that comes out in the various sessions? How has it helped those individuals to improve this life quality that they're experiencing in this lifetime? Because clearly they've come to you because they have curiosity, either because of difficulty or just curious. Because I think the average person might not want to be hypnotized if something doesn't happen in this lifetime that makes them go looking for this to hopefully find answers. So I guess the question is, how have you seen it change people? Does it improve their quality of life? Does it help them to understand challenges in this lifetime? Because that was my observation from watching the segments that I've watched that you have done. But as the expert, what's your answer?
I think you're right. Most people still don't know too much about hypnosis and the power of the subconscious mind, and how to make themselves achieve by believing, in themselves, and believing that they can do more than they're doing now, if that's part of their quest, part of their journey. I do also believe that we're in a place now more than ever that people want to seek answers, and they want to explore different possibilities. So I think all of the collective energy is coming together at the right time to explore things like different modalities, such as like sound bath therapy, Reiki, things that have been around for thousands of years, like acupuncture becoming more mainstream and finally being accepted by insurance companies as a treatment, for example. I think people are understanding the power of meditation more than ever as well. So, and overall manifestation, to be honest with you. But I think that my clients personally benefit from just an understanding of, wow, I always thought something, why was I drawn to Paris? Why was I drawn to the architecture of Italy? Why was I drawn to a certain language or a certain group of people? Why do I feel comfortable when I go to Thailand, for example, or somewhere? People just want answers. And sometimes you'll do a past life regression therapy and they'll actually understand why they were so familiar with a certain taste for something. And so that's one of the things, because I think as human beings, communication and understanding are very, very vital and important to us. So it helps them that way. It also helps them resolve certain issues of why maybe they have anxiety, why they feel less than, why they have some issues with self-esteem, for example. If understanding that something happened to you in a past life makes you who you are today, you can actually process it, grow from it, and overcome it.
So does everyone who come to you come specifically for a regression, or do you see people and during your treatment you discover that it would benefit them to have a regression session in order to help them with whatever you're working on with them?
Yeah, at the beginning, it was more of multiple different reasons why people would come to see me. Now I really only do past life regression therapy. If, friends or a referral comes in for something different and I think I can help the person, I will. But really my practice is based on past life regression therapy. And so are my books, and so is most of my field of study. That's my real passion. So I'm really focused on that.
You told me earlier today that you've done approximately 1,200 interviews of regressions. I would imagine everyone is fascinating because everyone I have seen, I was mesmerized. Which ones have stood out the most in your mind and why?
You have a lot of good questions, Jennylyn.
Thank you. Thank you. You can tell how anxious I was to do this.
Oh, it's great. No, it's great. It's, I've had some fascinating interviews with, such a good question, because there's so many that come to mind right away that are just exciting. I mean, I've had people that are caught in an in-between state. So they're not actually in this lifetime, and they're not actually in a specific past life when we're doing the process. And this can happen from time to time. And what I found so fascinating about this during a regression is that I'm curious as everyone else. I want to know, what does it feel like? What does it look like? Describe the textures, describe the colors, describe the energy that you're feeling. And they kind of describe it as some type of fabric. That's a flowing type of fabric. And many people have actually described it in the same way. And, at that point, I'll start asking questions based on where we're at. But it's a lot of times it'll be like, why are you in this space? And their answer will be, because I'm not ready to come back, or I haven't been chosen to come back. And so one of the fascinating things that I've learned over the years is that our souls have a choice, and we really have a choice to either come back into a life or to be chosen to come back into a life by someone else. And we can accept that choice. In fact, it makes me think of one of my clients who came in, and in a past life, she had said that she really did not want to come into this life, but she had to. And I said, well, can you explain that to me? And she said, well, I had to come back because the person that was my mother in that lifetime was being abused by her husband. Every time she would get pregnant, the husband would stop abusing her. And so between children, it was a really, really terrible abusive relationship on all the levels you can imagine. And so she came back to help this woman by being pregnant. The woman was able to not be abused and was able to get away from him. And then she was born, and they had a life separate from everyone else. And so she described this life as extremely valuable and selfless, and lots of love and care and emotion. And I remember that this actually really, really kind of struck me as an important past life regression.
Seriously, I could go on asking you questions, but I don't want to keep stressing you. But I must ask you, do you believe that people have come back into this lifetime to find each other from previous lifetimes? Have you interviewed anyone where that's what you both discovered, that they came back to this life to find someone who is in this lifetime that was somehow in an experience with them in a previous lifetime?
I certainly have. And I also believe that many, many times we come back in the same circle of loved ones, and for multiple different reasons, either to perfect ourselves, to perfect the relationships, to experience different perspectives in those relationships, and to come to resolutions. And I also believe that sometimes we can come back as lovers. Sometimes we can come back as brothers and sisters. Sometimes we can come back as a daughter to a son, or a mother to a son, or a father to a daughter, in multiple different incarnations for multiple different purposes.
So I know that this question may not be a question you have an answer to, but do you believe that why do you believe rather that we do not remember why we have come back? Because I've been told, and I believe this, because I interviewed a psychic whose gift is to check on, she can tell you about your past lives. And she has a reputation for being quite accurate. She lives in Paris. And she told me that when we come back here, we don't remember because we come back as babies, but that if we're spiritually aware, that it starts coming back to us. Why do you think we come here and then we don't remember? We need someone like you or her who are experts in delving into the past in a safe environment to help us to, get back on track in terms of why we've come back. So this is what I'm asking you, if you know why we don't often, most people don't remember. If they don't see someone like you or speak to someone like her, we come back into this life and we are so oblivious. And all of what's going on in our life is being influenced by our education, family, friends, the news, because these are safe topics and safe information because we understand the source. And when we don't understand the source of information, we block it, or we call it craziness, or we said, that's not possible. Tell me, am I correct? Because you're the expert.
Well, I think that as children, when we come back, I think there's a lot of evidence that shows that we actually have a lot of memories from our past lives. I think society shuns those and tells us to not bring it up and to act in a certain way and to, for lack of a better word, sit there, be quiet and look pretty. I mean, parents often actually kind of detract children from remembering things. So a lot of parents, in fact, there's actually a lot of videos on YouTube for anyone to see about children that come back when they're 2, 3, 4 years old, and we'll talk about things like mechanics on an airplane, or child prodigies that can play the piano at 3, 4 years old, that compose musical art, which is unheard of. I mean, these talents come from somewhere else. And so I hope that as parents, more and more, we just allow kids and children to be themselves. Children will say they have a friend that you can't see, and we call them an imaginary friend. Well, how do we know that they're not tapped into something that we've let go in our adult life? So I think the beauty of children is their innocence, and it's wonderful. If they start talking to you about something that they did, listen to them. Ask them questions, try to get some information, and encourage them to stay tapped into those memories. To answer the second part of your question, I think that as we get older, I think, like we said, society, life, our conscious mind actually takes in information that it needs for survival and to thrive. So we're taught at school to learn algebra, science, all kinds of things. And so that starts to take pieces of our mind, and we need to store that information because it's valuable. And I think that all those memories are actually in the subconscious. But remember, the conscious mind filters all of the subconscious ideas and memories. So it has to be opened up again to get into the subconscious where we can actually pull out those memories. And so at the end of the day, I think it's a survival mechanism that we come back, and now we're in this incarnation, and we've got to survive in these times and our surroundings. And so it's in our subconscious if we want to go find it, and we can find it.
What percentage of your clients would you say have had an improved life because of the regression?
I say a very, very high number. I think people, in fact, most of my clients want to come back for a second regression almost right away. And I say, well, let's process this one, and maybe next year we can do another one. Right. I really believe in taking a lot of value into each regression, into each of your lives, and really understand it. It doesn't all come to you at once. Of course, I take a lot of notes, and I provide the notes for my clients for them to review afterwards. I also record it so they can hear it. But yeah, it's very important to process everything that you hear and you see in your past life regression and see where it takes you.
I read that you've been doing this for 13 years. Is that correct? Or you've been doing it longer?
Longer now. I would probably probably, I mean, probably 16 years ago was the first time. I would say around 2006 was the first time, but really heavily, probably 2008. Yeah, about 14 years now. Yeah, I would say.
Well, I would like to take this opportunity at this point of the interview to thank you. I think you're a natural at it. I love the questions you ask. I love how people trust you and how easy it is when you trust someone to get you to regress. Because I just see you take them through a doorway and then they're out. And that fascinates me. Like, how did he do that? And I'm coming to you one day to do it to me. And I'm going to declare on camera that I will trust you because I really want to do it, as well as a lot of my friends. So you'll be seeing us. And now that you have done this for so many years, tell us what Damian is doing new now to help people.
Well, just last week, I opened up my first wellness center in Santa Monica, California. And so it's called La Plage Wellness, Fitness and Wellness Luxury Resort. And what we do is we do, an 8-hour-a-day program that's based around nutrition, fitness, all kinds of holistic modalities. So we treat the mind, the body, and the soul. We use things like, again, sound therapy, acupuncture, massage. We do things like Reiki. We do things like paddleboard yoga. We do things like hypnotherapy, of course. We use Thrive coaching, psychotherapy. We do something called life purpose training so that somebody can really understand what their talents and skills are and move to the next level. But the overall, I guess, mission statement of La Plage is really to reset, restore, and grow. So people have triggers, people have work stress, people have life stress. Mm-hmm. It's about getting away from that, coming to Santa Monica. We're located on the beach at the Low Santa Monica Hotel, and experiencing, some time for yourself, some time to rebuild and restructure and thrive again and be healthy. And so that's what we're doing. So La Plage opened last week, and we're very, very excited to be here in Santa Monica. And of course, La Plage means the beach in French. So it's about being on the beach.
You are French, right? You're from Quebec?
I'm from Montreal, Canada. Yep.
Montreal.
Yep.
And do you want to leave your website address so people can check it out? I'll put a tag there with it, but say it anyway, please.
It's laplagewellness.com. Thank you.
And it's www, spell it, because some people might not be able, not everybody speaking French, Damian.
I know. It's a difficult language, unfortunately.
Right. So you spell it out for us.
It's www.laplage wellness. So it's wellness.com. laplagewellness.com.
And guys, go check it out, but check out his videos first. Can you tell my viewers what your show was called, where you have all of these episodes? I know, but my viewers may not know. So they can check out the interviews you've done in the past, where you've taken all these people down into the past.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. My television show is called, well, it actually had two different names. It was on Lifetime movie network, and the television show is called Who Was I? And it was also called Reincarnation Past Lives, both times on Lifetime movie network.
Great, thank you so much for that. Now, I always offer everyone I interview an opportunity to make sure they leave everything they want people to know about them and their business. What haven't I asked you about you and what you do that you want people to know?
Well, first of all, I hope to interview you sometime.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. I can't wait.
Great. Excellent. And I would say that I think we covered everything. I think my passion is really helping people through the power of the subconscious mind, and really hoping that people achieve the very best that they can and want to achieve. Life is really a journey, and life can be a beautiful journey. And I think everyone should be in a thriving mentality and really experience everything life has to experience. So enough about me. I really hope your viewers, your listeners, your fans, I hope that they just achieve everything they want to achieve. And if they want to find a really good qualified hypnotherapist, make sure they get a good reference. If they have any questions for me, they could always find me. It's damianbertrand.com. They can just Google my name, Damian Bertrand, and send me an email, and I'd be happy to respond.
And I must ask this question. I'd be remiss if I don't, because so many people are fearful about being regressed. What would you say to someone who is afraid of being regressed?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, most people, or a lot of people, don't know too much about hypnotherapy and maybe have been misinformed and think that it can be a dangerous process. It absolutely can't. If you think about the way your mind works, it's basically like meditation, hypnosis, and sleep. Those would be the three levels that you would fall into. And so meditation is very safe. It's very healthy. Hypnotherapy is very safe, very healthy. In fact, you're always in control. The hypnotherapist, if they would say something that was something you were not comfortable with, your conscious mind would bring you back to a conscious, awakened state. So it's not what you see in the movies. It's really a very simple, relaxing process. And I would say anyone interested in it should really give it a shot with a really good, qualified hypnotherapist.
Because some people are afraid that they won't come out of it. Have you ever had that happen?
No.
With an expert like you, there's no way they're not going to come out of it, because you are a genius at this. You really are. And my friends and I sat down a few nights ago and I told them you consented to the interview. I'm like, you guys haven't heard about him? And I pulled up the video and we all watched it and they're like, oh my God, we can't wait for the interview. And I know they've checked out other videos beside the one I shared. And so I think we were all impressed with how easy you made it seem to get someone to go to hypnotize these people. And so I am grateful to you that you have chosen this path, because I would imagine you have helped a lot of people and you are helping a lot of people. And like I said, so many people are oblivious to the fact that they've had other lives. You use the word reincarnation to some people and they've got you burning in hell, because there is no such thing as reincarnation, you know? And so what life has taught me is to respect people's views. But it kind of makes me sad when people are so black and white, because look at the blessings they're missing when they poo-poo something like what you offer. It may be exactly what they need to improve their quality of life, but they knock it because they don't know and they don't understand it.
No, and you make a really good point. I mean, I think I touched on this earlier. I really opened my mind to so many more possibilities as I got older and as I got wiser through working in this field. And I wish more people had more of an open mind and respected more people's views and loved each other's differences. I think that it's just a matter of education and time, but at the same time, I would never want to push it on someone. So I respect the way their position is and I respect their views too.
So we are out of time, but before I wrap, is there anything else you want to leave with us? Like your fitness center, when you said where it was located, the internet glitched. And so we didn't hear exactly, I just heard the word hotel. So if you want to tell us again, because I want to make sure people know where you are.
That's great. Well, the Plage Wellness is in the Lower Santa Monica Hotel, which is right on the beach in Santa Monica, California. And it's a wonderful setting. It's a very beautiful hotel, and our whole office, all of our employees, all of our therapists, everyone works right out of here. Most of the modalities are here. It's a really holistic journey, and we welcome anybody that listens to reach out to us to get more information.
I cannot thank you enough. This has been wonderful. You've answered a lot of the questions that I've had. And I encourage any viewer watching this show, if you're having experiences in your life that you find challenging, that you just can't put your finger on why these things are happening, I encourage you to call Damian he's affordable, and schedule an appointment, and hopefully he can help you to solve the puzzles and to move on from where you are. So, Damian, thank you so much. Congratulations on your new business. You'll see me soon.
Hope
And
so.
thank you for all that you're doing to help people around the world to improve their lives and to solve the puzzles.
Thank you so much, Jennylyn. It was my pleasure. And hello to all of you listeners. And she's a wonderful, wonderful host. And keep watching her show. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you. And so thank you so much for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired. And if you were not inspired for Damian, you were not paying attention. And I will see you next time with another fascinating guest. Thank you.